has responded to our statements by saying that the student athletes do require more money because scholarships do not cover the full cost of schooling, no matter what school they go to, big or small. I will respond by saying that yes, sometimes scholarships do not cover all the costs of schooling, but my argument was that scholarships lessen the financial burden of these students by a huge amount. While a full scholarship student athlete will still be paying $3,222, according to the affirmative, for their leftover schooling costs, which is much better than the $20,000 to $30,000 they would be paying without the scholarship, which is according to the U.S. News. Now, the affirmative argues that the athletes do not have enough time to pay this leftover fee by having a job like other students. The other students who work jobs usually don't come close to paying off their yearly $20,000 to $30,000 bill that adds up over the years. In an article from the New York Times, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York reports that the average debt in 2011 for students was $23,300, with 10% owing more than $54,000 and 3% more than $100,000. The average debt for bachelor degree graduates who took out loans ranges from under $10,000 to at elite schools like Princeton and Williams College, which have plenty of wealthy students, to nearly $50,000 at some private colleges with less affluent students and less financial aid. So the student athletes have a much less financial burden, which will still have some costs. Then they will be doing what most of us do, which is to accept financial aid. And if that doesn't cover enough, take out student loans. I know that taking out loans is not the way people want to go, but for college athletes, they need only a small portion of what the regular non-athletic student takes out. And if all goes well for the athlete, they should have no problem paying off the debt, which their future income will be well paying for. My opponent also argued that student athletes do bring in a significant income for the colleges. But my question was, which athletes bring in what amount? I reiterate again, who is being shown on TV and whose jersey is selling? I walked into sports shops and I see the star quarterback and the star running back jerseys everywhere, and not the fourth string player who spends most of the season on the bench. And which sport is the center of this discussion? Football. Some cases are made in basketball and maybe some in baseball. But what about the water polo team? Do they get paid the same? I refer to the current rule of Title IX, which basically states that the men athletic teams as well as the women athletic teams all get paid the same. So, which means the star quarterback who is getting a larger stipend on the football team than the fourth string player on the water polo team also must get the same amount. And I also would like to refer to a quote by Seth Davis from Sports Illustrated that says, if we're going to say that players be paid according to their value, then we should pay them less if their team doesn't make a bowl game. Just something to think about. Considering all this, with all the help and support that student athletes receive, they are able to be a good student and handle the pressures of being an athlete without an additional stipend.